Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
April sent me a note last night and said, check out the story, Steve. This has been updated on one you did a while back. Remember the story about the goat, the girl and her goat at the fair? Well, California County pays up after illegally seizing child's pet goat. That goat incident is going to cost the county some real money. So this is from Courthouse News. Alan Rakelmy wrote this. That goat was named Cedar, was ultimately slaughtered after local authorities tracked him down like a fugitive. And that's the subhead from the story. A lawsuit accusing Shasta County officials of improperly seizing a 9-year-old girl's goat ended Friday with a settlement. The settlement will not bring the goat back, but it will put some money in a bank account. Shasta County and its sheriff's office, along with a lieutenant and 2 detectives, agreed to settle the infamous viral case of Cedar the goat for $300,000. Much of that money will be placed in a trust fund for the girl. She's now 11 years old. You don't hand a big check like that to a little kid and go, here, knock yourself out. So other defendants, including the fair employees and a 4-H volunteer, still remain in the suit. So they did not get what we call a global settlement. A lot of times when several people have stepped up and said, look, we'll take care of this, we'll pay money to get out. A lot of times they will get everyone together and go, look, let's all get out of this now. Because obviously some of these defendants who have now paid to get out of the suit are still witnesses to what happened. And so if this trial goes forward with these other people, you can get dragged back into court and be made to testify. And it's like sometimes you just want to move on with your life. So the legal fight centers around the purported sale of Cedar at a 2022 district fair. That incident drew significant media attention when it happened, as it included accusations of goat theft by law enforcement and featured a California state senator. The girl's mother argued that the family never agreed to sell Cedar. She said her daughter cried in the goat's pen, saying she did not want to sell Cedar and that the Shasta Fair Association had no right to him. Despite this, a detective involved in the settlement obtained a warrant to seize the goat. 2 other officers then drove to Sonoma County, where they seized the goat. As a result, the young girl who raised Cedar lost him, and Cedar lost his life. Long wrote in her suit. Now plaintiffs can never get him back. Now, an attorney for the mother-daughter said in a statement to Courthouse News that no litigation can bring Cedar back, obviously. Nonetheless, the settlement with the County of Shasta and Shasta County Sheriff's Office is the first step in moving forward. We continue to litigate against the California Fair entity and related employees and a 4-H volunteer. Attorneys for those defendants could not be reached for comment. According to the mother, her daughter became Cedar's owner in April of 2022, caring for and feeding him daily until around July of 2022. The girl was enrolled in a local 4-H youth program and ultimately exhibited Cedar at the Shasta District Fair. Now, the fair had a junior livestock auction, but the Shasta Fair Association did not own the goat. Long wrote that at most the association should receive 7% of the payment that a 4-H exhibitor gets when they sell an animal. Regardless, the attorney said no such sale ever occurred, as the family acted to stop their participation in the livestock auction. So they stepped up and said, we don't want to get involved in this. We do not want to sell our goat. The Fair Association claimed fair rules didn't allow for that, though no such rules exist, apparently. A state senator, whose district includes Shasta County, made the high bid for Cedar at $902 through a rep. After the auction, the girl would not leave Cedar's side, the attorney wrote. She loved Cedar, and the thought of him going to slaughter was something she could not bear. While sobbing in his pen beside him, she communicated to her mother she did not want Cedar to go to slaughter. So, wanting to avoid conflict, the mother told the Fair Association that she'd pay for any losses. She also worried about fallout from the decision and opted to take Cedar to a farm, which would give her time to fix whatever she had to fix dealing with these different entities. Fearing legal threats from the Fair Association's livestock manager, she again offered to pay for any losses. She also contacted the office of the person who had auctioned and bid on her. His representatives told her he would not hinder her efforts to save Cedar. In spite of that, the sheriff's office began an investigation, which leads you to believe that somebody filed a complaint, which led to a warrant to seize cedar from a Napa County business. The lieutenant and a detective then drove at least 500 miles to seize the goat, but the goat wasn't where they were looking for it. They later found cedar at the Sonoma County farm and seized the goat, even though, as long noted, they had no warrant for that location. So there's a bunch of legal issues here, not the least of which is that you don't just get a warrant to seize the goat. There should have been a legal action to settle ownership of the goat. But unfortunately, the goat was slaughtered before anybody could do that, I think. That's what it kind of looks like. So I remember I've covered two different aspects of this previously. And I know a lot of people agree with the mother and the daughter and say, hey, look, it's a $900 goat. If the mom says, I'm willing to pay you $900, let us keep the goat. Most people would say, you know something, that's fine. And many of us were children at one time. And as children, you might be able to think back on how you thought. And a 9-year-old can get very attached to an animal. I remember how I felt about our family's cat at the age of 9. And animals take on sometimes an outsized proportion of importance to a child. And so if this kid has a goat and it's entered in a fair, and somebody says, by the way, do you understand that at the end of this fair, they're going to kill your goat? A child might not even be able to process that until the reality hits them. And so you have to ask yourself, if you are, I'm not saying a judge, let's suppose you're Solomon, okay? King Solomon. People bring disputes before King Solomon and just gets to just look at the whole thing and try to, you look at this and go, okay, you got a 9-year-old girl and her goat and her mom on one side, and somebody who bid on the goat over here, and people run an auction here, and the mom says that she tried to get the goat out of the auction before the auction occurred, and this person here says, no, but I bid $900 on that goat. I want that goat now. What's the solution there? And the obvious solution is, okay, you paid $900 for a goat. I got news for you, and someone's going to disagree with this, but really, is one goat really that different from another? I know you're going to say, but Steve, that goat was entered in a contest. If the goat won the contest, it was a blue ribbon goat. It's better than other goats. Really? Are you telling me that if I took the first place goat and the fourth place goat and we processed them the same way and turned them into food and had people taste the food, could they guess which was which? I'll bet you money they couldn't. And I'm not a betting man. And so in my mind, in that situation, somebody could have said, ma'am, mistakes have been made all around. You owe that person a goat. How hard is that to do? Go find a goat. So it almost looks, and again, I'm reading between the lines here, it almost looks like somebody wanted to teach somebody a lesson here. It's time that kids learn that they don't control the world. They don't always get their way. They got to stick by their word. At 9? At 9? So I'm a little surprised that they settled this early for such a large amount of money. But as many people are going to point out, it's not their money. The county has attorneys, and the attorneys are settling a case with the approval of the county, but it's taxpayers who are paying this. So I hope the taxpayers who now get to pay this settlement will think about this. If they ever have the opportunity to vote for or against the people who made these kinds of decisions. And again, you got sheriffs running all over the place, driving 500 miles to go fetch a goat. It reminds me of the sheriff who sent people to go track down the guy who makes Batmobiles in the Midwest from California. So there are people out there who haven't got the memo as to what their job is, but here at the center of it is a 9-year-old girl whose goat was in a fair and she changed her mind. And if the kid was 16, or if it was an 18-year-old or 25-year-old, I tend to go the other direction on that. But at nine, I tend to think that the mom and the daughter were right. And it certainly appears that even if they weren't, the police still made mistakes by getting a warrant to seize the goat and going to the wrong location and seizing it, because warrants do describe in particularity what they're used for and where they are to be used. So there you go. April, thanks for sending it. California County pays up after illegally seizing child's pet goat. The settlement will cost the county $300,000, and there are still some defendants who are in this case. Questions or comments? Put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Enter any 11-digit prime number to continue.